My name is Robert Sinhuber. I'm from Austria. I was born in Mittersill, which is a village in the middle of the Alps in the province of Salzburg. It was an amazing place. I mean, my upbringing was just so incredible, living in nature and being in the mountains. And of course, like all kids there, or especially the boys, I mean, it was more of a boy thing in these days. My goal was to become a professional skier and win all the major races there are. And I was on the way to achieving that, starting to ski before I walked, more or less, like everybody does there or did there. So I was in the Austria in the Salzburg provincial ski team, won races, was in the Austrian junior ski team, and was bound to go to a special school, not that special, but the sports school. And before I joined, they already accepted me, and then they did a medical test and they checked everything and they found out that I had a problem with my spine. There were some vertebrae, there were pieces missing, rubbed off, probably from starting with intensive sports too early. So that was it. No more superstar in the sports world. But who knows what will come? I didn't know. So I went to school, high school, then I started studying law in Vienna, and at the same time, while studying, I also joined the foreign ministry, which I did because of an aunt of mine. I have to go back. Missed something. Small village in Salzburg in the province. Sometimes, in these days you had no internet, so you didn't know anything about the big wide world. You had to read books still and not just watch YouTube videos. So that's what I did. I read a lot. I was one of these. I wasn't a weirdo. I did at school what I had to do. I didn't do anything more than that, but I read a lot, and I read a lot about the world, and that was something that not lots of my friends did. They were more interested in sport and doing football and whatnot, which I also played. I was a sports crazy, like everybody, all the boys, but I read a lot, and that I was hungry for adventure. I wanted to get out in the world and see the jungles of Africa and India, the tigers in India and whatnot. But I had no plan how to do that. And an aunt of mine, also from the village, and her husband, also from the village, they went to Africa. He was working for a leather company, a French leather company in Kinshasa, which was then Zaire, now Congo. And whenever she came back, I remember she brought back mangoes. And in these days, I found it cool also. She brought ivory jewelry and sometimes an ivory tusk, which I wouldn't find so cool anymore now. But at the time it was like, wow, an ivory tusk and mangoes, and that just put more fire under me to go out and explore the world. So she said, why don't you join the foreign service? You can travel the world, live in different countries, get to know the world, and have an exciting job. So I was like, okay. When I was in Vienna studying, I said, okay, I applied in the foreign ministry. They took me, and then I spent 5 years in Vienna. And after that, I had the chance to go to India, of all places. It's like destiny almost, because I always felt somehow when I read these books, I felt so comfortable. I felt like I knew these places somehow. I mean, all the books from Kipling's books that he wrote about India. I mean, it was just, I was I could see myself walking the jungles and the villages of India even before I was there. So yeah, it was a bit of destiny to go there. And when I arrived in India, I was like, yeah, blown away. This place, first of all, it felt so familiar. It was like, wow, almost like being, yeah, home somehow. I never felt foreign. I never felt weird. Although this country, if anybody who was in India ever knows how it attacks the senses, the smells and the sounds. I mean, sounds, noise, mostly, and the colors and just the whole thing. It's so overpowering that it's almost impossible not to be shocked. But for me, it was like, wow, great! This feels so cool. So, yeah, I lived in India for 3 years. That was my first posting, and during this time, I met my wife, which unfortunately is not my wife anymore. Maybe I'll talk about it a bit later. But yeah, I met her, and beautiful woman, beautiful person, mother of 3 of my children, beautiful boys. I always said they got her looks and her brains, which, yeah, I think sums it up. Yeah. Anyway, so we met, and then I had to leave India. Like in our service, we leave after 3, 4, 5 years sometimes, and go to another posting or go back home to Austria. So I went on to another posting in Syria, Damascus, in 1990, which was a time where the region was relatively stable until, of course, the first Gulf War started, which was a really interesting time. I mean, the countries there, the Middle East is just amazing. I love this area also. I don't know, maybe I lived in one of my many lives, maybe I lived there also before, so that might have been, because I also never felt foreign there. I felt very much at home also. So the Gulf War started, and in '91, and I had a long-distance relationship with my Indian girlfriend, and then we decided to get married. And I said, well, we have to do this rather quick because the Gulf War started. There's almost no more flights from Damascus back to Europe. It might be very difficult, and it might just not work. So it was winter, February, and yeah, the best time to marry an Indian in Austria, because I made her come to Austria. I went to Austria and we got married in Mittersill in minus 10 degrees, but it was beautiful. It was snow, it was blue sky, it was minus 10 degrees, and I dragged my Indian wife through the snow. But yeah, that was great. So after that, we were able, strange enough, we were able to travel to India. So we traveled to India and had another wedding ceremony there with all her in-laws who couldn't come. Indians, big families, big circles of friends and mothers, sisters, brothers, uncle and whatnot. It was really fun. So we had a good time there. And then we went to Syria and yeah, had a great 2 years there. Our first son was born there, Nicholas. He was born in Shami Hospital, I still remember, up on the mountain. And we had a great time there. And then we moved to, where did we go from there? We moved to London. Yes, we moved to London. London, completely different thing. Back to Europe, young family. And yeah, my wife got pregnant with twins also in London. Not also, she got pregnant with twins in London. And yeah, so London was family man, looking after one kid, and then soon looking, I mean, not me only, my wife also, of course. So London was not a posting where we explored London a lot. We spent lots of time in the countryside with our firstborn, and then the twins came and the whole thing changed completely. It was crazy. Fun. Crazy fun. It was amazing. Such a good time with these kids, and we spent 3.5 years in London with this young family, with these young kids, and then I asked my head office if I could go back to India, because my wife is from India and it would be nice for her to be back in her own country also, and to see her family more, and because we have young kids. So they allowed it. They said yeah. So we went back to India for 4 years. Amazing time again, completely different to what it was, of course, before. That's a funny thing, because when I was there first, there were no mobile phones. Okay, there was almost no TV. There were like 2 channels, Doordarshan 1 and Doordarshan 2, the state channels where they only showed Hindi soap operas or yeah. So the second time I was in India, everything had changed. There was mobile phones all over the place. There was cable TV. The people were watching The Bold and the Beautiful and whatnot, all this rubbish, Dallas and all that. And why it was so, I mean, anyway, it's bad to sit so much in front of the TV. Unfortunately, I did that also a lot, but yeah. The worst part of it was that when I was there the first time, it was amazing. People actually were sitting together in the evening, Indian families. I mean, I got into the Indian families with my girlfriend, and it was just amazing in the evening. You know, everybody was eating together and laughing, and somebody had a guitar somewhere, or some friends came over from unannounced, of course, from the next apartment or from the next house, and the party started, and it was every evening something was going on, some people visiting, or you go somewhere and have some chai, some tea, or some pakoras, and it was just amazing. And nobody was watching TV, and nobody was looking at their phone or anything. When the second time I went there, everybody was watching these stupid series on MTV and whatnot, and nobody was having fun in the evening anymore. It was so strange. You ate your dinner, and then it was like, oh, we have to finish because Dallas is starting. Yeah? And then everybody ran to the TV room and was watching this shit. Sorry, but yeah, it wasn't a good development in this respect. But still fun, but different. So we spent 4 years in India. Yeah, but that's, I just go back one step. I don't want to bore anybody, but that's just a small detail which I think is important in my life. When we had the kids, the twins in Austria, in London, when my wife was pregnant, her mom in India was very sick. And then one day, that was like 2 days before the birth of the twins, we had to set the date for a cesarean, because there was a little bit of a problem with one of the twins to get them out earlier. So we set the date for the 21st of Feb, and 2 days earlier we get a call, and I pick up the phone, and a relative of my mother-in-law is on the phone, an uncle who I knew well, and he said, Robert, Mummy died. Don't tell Debbie. Debbie was my wife. Yeah, don't tell Debbie. And yeah, And 2 days later, the cesarean for the twins was planned. Or was it? No, it was the next day, sorry. It was the next day. So, of course, my wife asked me, who called? So of course, I told her, well, it's Uncle so-and-so, and she says, oh, so how is mommy? So I had to lie to her that mommy was fine. Because if I had told her that she just died, and she was going to have these twins the next day, it would have been devastating. I mean, it was still devastating later, but at the time it was the right thing to do. And it was just tough. So yeah, we had the twins there, and why I'm telling this is, first of all, it's important, and secondly, when we were in India for the second time, we had this beautiful house a little outside Delhi. They call them farmhouses, like rich Indians built big houses in the middle of nowhere with big grounds around. Some of them nicely kept with nice grass and plants and so on. And we had a really nice one. And my wife's father, one of the most amazing people you can imagine, he lived in Bombay. And when we moved to Delhi, we said, Daddy, why don't you come up and stay with us as long as you want? You can go back to Bombay when you want, you stay with us when you want. And that's what he did. So he came up and he lived with us for many, many months at a time. And oh my God, the kids just loved him. This guy was telling stories from his years traveling in India. He was working for an oil company, and he was traveling around the country a lot, and he had stories to tell. The kids were sitting there, and I was sitting there with him and listening to his stories. That was just amazing. So yeah, beautiful time. The kids had a sheltered upbringing there in the farmhouse with big grounds around, gardens. They could run around. They were once I caught a cobra in our garden. It's not a lie. I'm not lying now, okay? I'm not lying. There were cobras in our garden. There were monkeys in the trees. There were parrots. It was beautiful. So great time. And then after India, we went to Dublin, Ireland. It was also beautiful, completely different, back to Europe again. Nothing much happened there. We went a lot of time. We went fishing. I loved to fish when I was a kid, and I wanted my kids also to grow up in nature. I wanted them to get that feeling. You know, I didn't want them to be these city kids who never get out into the greenery. I wanted them to fish and do things, and so Ireland was perfect for that, because you have lots of lakes, and the shoreline is amazing. And so we went fishing a lot, and every year at least 2 or 3 times we went somewhere in Ireland to the beach to stay there for a week, and we rented a house, one of these traditional Irish stone houses, beautiful. And we spent our day fishing. Yeah. My wife was sitting at the shore. She was reading while the boys and I were fishing on a boat or from the shore. And yeah, beautiful times. Amazing. Yeah. Yeah, after Ireland, there would be so much to tell, but I think I have to keep it a bit shorter. After Ireland, we went back to Austria for 2 years. Not that I don't like Austria, but I joined the Foreign Service to be abroad. So I tried to keep it as short as possible in Austria, because I thought, well, in Austria I can always live. I grew up there, and I can always live if I want, but traveling around, that would be great. So after 2 years in Austria, which was the only time my kids actually lived in Austria, we went to Canada, yeah, Ottawa. And that's funny, Ottawa was one of these choices because of family. Also, like going back to India was partly a choice because of family, and going to Canada was also a choice because there was family. My ex-wife's brother lived there with his wife in Ottawa, and we said, yeah, why not go somewhere where we have family? So that's what we did. Went to Canada, just north of here, less guns. My brother-in-law, he loved to fish also, and they had a cottage by a lake about an hour outside of Ottawa. So we spent lots of time out there with the kids, and enjoyed the Canadian black flies and mosquitoes and the occasional bass in the frying pan. David is drooling now. So, Canada, what to say? Freezing cold. We had a big house with a big garden, and what do you do as a proper Canadian? You build an ice rink in the winter. So, this Austrian, of course, what the neighbor can do, I can do. So I bought this, what do you call it? It's a rake, and it's some plastic pipes, and it looks like a rake, and you attach the water, and then the water comes out in the front, and you walk around your garden. You first harden the snow, and you just water it every evening, 2 or 3 times in minus 25 degrees or so, or colder. So that's what I did, and we had, I think that was the first winter I did it. I was really putting lots of work in, and the kids used it a bit, not enough to my liking, but yeah, kids. So I think this was the winter where Canada had the most snowfall in, I don't know, a million years. It was like 7 meters and 40 something centimeters over the whole winter. So I had to shovel a lot of snow from my ice rink. That was crazy. Can you imagine? We had like the snow up to the basement windows. You couldn't see out anymore because it was so high, the snow. So I was shoveling my ice rink like an idiot for the longest time, until one day I said, no, I'm not doing the whole ice rink anymore. I'm just making a maze. I do some of it. So yeah, that was fun. Of course, the kids had fun. They never shoveled, but they played in it. Yeah, that was good. So I did that every winter. Made an ice rink, which was fun. Kids had a good time, and of course, kids also came into their teens. So, not getting into that was fun. They were good kids. They still are. Okay. Canada. Where do we go next? We went to Copenhagen. It was one of the places I always wanted to go to, the north of Europe, and Copenhagen came up, and that's where we went. It was a very interesting place, really cool place, Copenhagen. Lots of nice things to do. Of course, we went fishing also. What else? Then, I think one of the major things happened in Copenhagen. But one of my sons, when we went from Canada to Copenhagen, one of my sons stayed there and started studying in Canada. And only the twins came with us. So they came with us, and they finished their school there. And as they did so, I somehow decided to leave my wife. How things happen in life sometimes. So yeah, we got separated, and she went back with the kids to Canada after they finished school in Copenhagen, and they started studying there. And I went on to go to China on a posting to Beijing. Crazy time, crazy good time. It was fun. It was, I mean, the Chinese, it's amazing. The country is amazing. The people are amazing. Yeah, the system. Okay, we're not getting political here. So I was there, single again, and no, single. Actually, I had a girlfriend who, yeah, for who I left my wife. But once in China, that didn't work out. Another girlfriend, and yeah, a few things, and yeah, 4.5 years in China. Amazing travel. Went to Mongolia, which is not in China. Inner Mongolia is in China, but Mongolia is not. Went to Mongolia, went to the desert, had an adventure there, which was crazy. Southern Gobi, you didn't see people like 2 days. For 2 days, we didn't see people. Then we saw one shepherd with his goats or whatever, and yeah, just to. There would be lots of things to talk about in China, but I think I should say something about London, about New York also, where I'm right now. I was supposed to go back from China to Vienna because I was out for so long, and then just by chance, out of the blue, this posting comes up, New York Cultural Forum. And I was like, oh, I always wanted to go to New York. First of all, the city I wanted to see, and then I'd be closer to my kids again. So I applied for it and I got it. I was already packing up for Vienna, but then I got New York. And so in 2018, I came here to this crazy city, fucking crazy city. It's, and yeah. It took me more than a year to really get a bit of a grip of the city, and I still don't have a grip after 4 years. But in between, the pandemic happened, and that was crazy. That was really crazy. And I still remember on the 16th of February, March 2020, we had our last day in the office, and then we went into home office lockdown. And the first thing I did was watch I Am Legend. That was like on the 17th, on the Saturday, I think it was. I watched I Am Legend, and I was like, oh wow, that's what New York will look like soon. And in fact, it almost did, because during the lockdown, I went to take photos a couple of times, and New York was empty. Like, you will never ever see it again. It was never that empty, and it will never be that empty. It was just crazy. It was scary. It was. I remember one day I walked up Fifth Avenue in the middle of the road. The birds were chirping, and I was alone, and not a person in sight. It was scary. It was really scary because, like David, he went to the. He told us, and he posted his photos going to the hospital and taking photos of the nurses and the people who were helping, and it was just so unreal. It was so unreal. And sitting at home most of the time and still working with all the means that you had, like your laptop, your private laptop in most cases, because you weren't prepared for this kind of thing to happen. And then not knowing what really will happen. I mean, people dying like almost like flies here in New York. We were like the hot spot. And I remember there were at the height there were 900 dead in the city, and it was crazy. And then you saw these photos and things from these graveyards and the ICU units. And there you were, sitting at home, almost not daring to go out to the supermarket. I remember I went out, during the lockdown, whenever I went out to the supermarket, whatever I brought home, first of all I had like plastic gloves on, whatever I brought home, I washed it, because nobody knew what that virus would do to us. And since so many people were dying, it was really scary. But I think I'm not telling anything new. I was to people, everybody was experiencing the same thing. I was lucky. I had an apartment with a balcony overlooking Manhattan from the other side of the East River. It was just beautiful, you know. You could sit outside, and I was working outside. Also, I had my table there. Without this balcony, I think I would have gone crazy. I would have gone claustrophobic in an apartment without an open space like a balcony. So it was an unbelievable experience, which I think we'll never have again, and which I will never have again. It happened, so I say, well, it was unbelievable in good ways and in bad ways. Bad ways, how many people died, how many people suffered, all the hardship. In good ways, I made connections with lots of friends again who I had lost contact with during the pandemic, with WhatsApp video, and it's just amazing. It's such like old friendships, people who I haven't seen for a long time, and suddenly you were in contact. Hey, how are you? Are you doing okay? Everything good? And then we started talking on WhatsApp, and it's been such a close bond that developed. I think New York is still not what it was. I don't know how much longer it will take. I mean, if it's for people like David, and he's a proper New Yorker. I mean, at least the way he behaves. I know he's not from here. But that's what they say, that New Yorkers do behave like David. So if it's up to people like this, New York will be back to crazy pretty soon. But there's not too many Davids that are crazy enough to to go full speed all the time. There was a president who pushed my blood pressure really high at times, and I didn't want to carry that burden all by myself, so I shared all this nonsense with David, my New York twin. So he got all the tweets or the useful information. No, useful. It was upside. I don't know how to explain. He just got everything from me, and sometimes I was like, oh my God, you know, I'm killing this guy with all this Trump nonsense. But when once he told me, he said, that's great. I get all the news I need from you and my girlfriend. So it was good. I kept on doing it. No, but what I want to say, this was one friendship also which developed, especially during COVID. I came over a couple of times to David's place, and we met and we talked, and he came over to our side of the river, and we had fun, and we cooked at home, and so it was amazing, and we just had so much. It was just so easy to talk to him, and I mean, never short of a topic, and never short of swearing at something, which was super cool. You could talk about anything with him, or you can. And no, that's one of the very meaningful friendships that I have here, I think. And of course, one in my office. That's a colleague of mine, Nadia. She was here already when I came here, and she immediately took me under her wing also. And really, really, really nice person and amazing. She's now pregnant. She will have her first baby in 1 month. Not from me, of course. These two, David and Nadia, I think are very much what I would say New York was friendship-wise for me, meaningful friendships. You'll meet lots of nice people here, of course, but as I found out during my travels in the world and where I lived in different places, you meet lots of nice people, but the meaningful friendships, of course, they always filter out, and you know them pretty soon, and that's just the ones that stick with you, that you will never lose. So I hope these two will be in my contact list, meaningful contact list for a very long time. Yeah, New York, as I said, for me it was mostly COVID, 2 years COVID, 1 year before, 1.5, no, not even 1.5 years before, I was nothing, then 2 years, now 2 years COVID. And yeah, nobody knows what's gonna happen, how this will go on. So far we survived, yeah. But at the end, yeah, it all ends the way it ends. So if COVID doesn't take us, something else will take us. I mean, that's how life is. It ends at the end. Thank you very much, David, for inviting me to your tribes. It's really an honor. I was really moved when you asked me to join, and thank you so much. Thank you, my friend. It's super that I met you. You're an amazing person, really. So cool. The best New Yorker you can meet, David. Thank you so much.